Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Gasho. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Namanda Buddha. Hello and welcome once again to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube channel. This is the fall service for November 7th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining us to share浄土真宗Buddhism and the Buddha Dharma. Service order for today will be Sanbutsuge. You can find Sanbutsuge on page 53 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a reading of the Golden Chain. The Golden Chain can be found on page 107 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a Dharma talk, and in this one you get to find out about how Japanese snow monkeys in浄土真宗Buddhism go hand in hand. Also coming up will be the Denver Interfaith Thanksgiving service. This is happening both in person as well as live stream. Look out for details in the description of the video below on how you can live stream and watch or attend the service in person. Also, we are working really hard here at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple to see about reopening, and so more information on that will be coming soon. Please be safe, happy, and healthy, and do all that you can to protect all who are weaker than yourself. And remember, you are always in Amida's light. Kogen gingi hijin mungoku nyose henmyo muyo tosha nichingan mani shuko enyo kai shin onpei yunyaku jumok nyorai yogen Chose murin shongaku daion koru jipo kaimon shojin sammai chie hitoku muyo shusho keiyu jintai zennen Shobun hokai gujin jin no kugo gaitai mumyo yokunu seson yomu nin no shishi jin toku muyo kukun kodai Chie jinmyo komyo iso shindo daisen ganga sabuten zai sho ho kado shoji mifu gedan fuse joi Kainin shojin yoze sammai chie ijo gose tokubun fugyo shingan isai kunku isa dayan keshi umbun hyakusen nokuman Muyo daisho shunyo goja 供養一切使徒諸文不如愚道検証不客非如語者諸文世界無不可け無種先導光明師匠変死小国尿税精進偉人難容ヨガ三分国土第一五種奇妙道場超然国領内安任務闘争ガト愛民道難一切実法大小信念症状意図が国経楽和の根本神妙是が心象本願の非力所所欲実法生存知恵無限浄土子孫知が信行経路心死食読中画行精進忍辱不敬ナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナムナマナム願にしく道苦平等性一切道本菩内心往生安楽国Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namanda 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 Boots. Please join me in Gasho for a reading of The Golden Chain. I am a link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing on what I do now depends my happiness and misery. May every link in Amida Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namo Amida Boots. Namonda Boots. Namonda Boots. Namonda Boots. Namonda Boots. Namonda Boots. Namonda Boots. Hello, and welcome to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's YouTube Dharma Talk for November 7th, 2021. I'm really glad you're here to join us once again to hear the Buddha Dharma and to share the wonderful Namo Amida Butsu with us. Today, I'm going to be doing a reading from the Shozumatsu Wasan. This is the hymn of the Dharma ages. Persons who enter Amida's directing of virtue to beings and realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood completely abandon their self-powered directing of merit, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namonda 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 Butsu. So this comes from Hymns of the Dharma Ages, Shozumatsu Wasan, and it's kind of not direct. People who enter Amida's directing of virtue to beings, people who say the Nembutsu. Amida's directing of virtue is Amida giving us the primal vow, and realize the mind that seeks to obtain Buddhahood. They say the Nembutsu. They say the Nembutsu with gratitude. They achieve Shinjin, the entrusting heart and mind. Completely abandon their self-powered directing of merits. They no longer follow the path of sages. They no longer try to accumulate merit on their own to achieve enlightenment, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. By being born in the Pure Land, we will benefit all sentient beings boundlessly because our work will continue. I like this wasan. So it made me think a little bit about travel programs. And yeah, I know that's like kind of a non sequitur, but follow with me here. So it's the time of the year when it's getting a little cloudy out and a little snowy and a little cold, but it's not quite cold enough to go skiing and stuff yet. So I find this is a transitory part of the year where there's not really much to do. It's been really coldy, and kind of rainy here in Denver for the last week, and so I've been inside a lot. And while I have been working on my master's thesis, at the same time, I also turn on the TV every once in a while, and you find travel programs. And being that I am a YouTube junkie, I often watch a lot of YouTube vloggers travel to different parts of the world and travel and see a lot of different things. And a lot of Japanese YouTube vloggers hit like a formulaic thing. So they go and they hit the big tourist spots, especially since COVID has started, because they want people to see, these tourist spots that are really famous, and thus they get more views. The more views they get, the more ad revenue they get. I digress. One of the major things that gets shown on National Geographic travel shows and like Planet Earth and all the way down to YouTube vloggers are monkeys, and specifically the Japanese macaque. So the Japanese snow monkey. And an interesting fact about snow monkeys is there's actually like about 600 of them that live in South Texas. Because back in the 70s, some people wanted to do some experiments with them and took them to South Texas, and turns out they liked it there. And so a lot of snow monkeys live in South Texas, and there's like a large 175-acre preserve for them, although there is rumors of wild snow monkeys working their way around Southwest Texas. And one of the interesting things about these snow monkeys is they've grown larger. They've changed based on their environments. I just think that's really interesting. But another interesting thing about snow monkeys is they have a very interesting culture. And so we think of them as wild animals because they are wild animals. But one of the reasons they end up on TV and travel programs so often is because you'll find these Japanese macaque, these snow monkeys, bathing in onsen, bathing in natural springs. So it's cold and it's snowing, and these old world monkeys decide to sit within natural hot springs. And they warm themselves and they clean themselves, and they spend all day lounging around geothermal vents that boil water and create this really warm water. And so it's really famous to see like 3 feet of snow and a bunch of snow monkeys just chilling, looking really super happy in these hot springs. And this is considered a cultural learned behavior, to the point that it has affected how snow monkeys work. Like they can actually stay, they're the only old world monkey that will stay within a very cold, very snowy environment, which pretty much makes up the only primates besides humans that have no problems chilling where it's super cold and snowy. And so in that, they're a lot like us. And one of the ways they've learned to deal with this is A, being really furry, and B, being kind of small and compact, unlike their friends in South Texas who have grown very large, and laying around in hot springs. There's also some really other interesting group behaviors of these monkeys. They participate in snowball fights. So you can actually see them rolling up snowballs and throwing them at each other and playing that way. But possibly one of the most interesting things, and one of the most human things that we see them do, is there is a group of Japanese snow monkeys, a group of Japanese macaques, and they wash sweet potatoes. So they'll pull the sweet potatoes out of the ground, and they go to the sea, and they wash them. Which, I mean, to us makes sense because they don't want to eat dirty sweet potatoes. But what gets even more interesting is certain groups of these Japanese macaques will actually bite the sweet potato and then dip it back in the ocean and then bite it again. They're seasoning their food. And so back in the 1950s and 1960s, this was noticed and studies were done. And they also found groups of these snow monkeys that will take wheat and bound it up together so it's sticky together, like they go and they pick up wild rice and wild wheat and stuff, and they bound it together in balls that have holes in them. And then they would throw that in the water and it would sink and then come back up because it's buoyant, and it would clean all the dirt off of the wheat and the other grains they were eating. And apparently they think this started with one snow monkey who taught it to all the other ones. And so in that way, that snow monkey became a teacher, and all the other ones became a student. They learned to season their food, and they learned to wash their food. And it became an aspect of their culture, a cultural evolution, and it became a learned behavior. And this is still being studied to this day. In 2009, there was a study about this, and they decided to define this as a zone of latent solution. A zone of latent solution. The reason why the monkeys did it and spread it is this zone of latent solution. And in summation, what this means is it is most difficult for chimpanzees or monkeys to imitate anything unless they themselves understand it. It is most difficult for chimpanzees to imitate anything unless they themselves understand it. That is a zone of latent solutions. And so it is a learned behavior that's spread on, but it's not something that was blindly done. In order for the macaques to understand it or to do it and continue to spread this on, they had to understand the action in which they were doing. It had to be fully comprehended. Otherwise, they wouldn't do this learned behavior. And so they have to have deep knowledge of this behavior in order to imitate it. And so I think zone of latent solutions possibly apply to humans as well. Possibly apply to us as well. Especially those of us living in Mappo in this degenerate age of Dharma, and those of us who are following the Jodo Shinshu Buddhist path. All of us are following a teacher, and we are all students, and we are learning deeply. We have all been in this teacher-student relationship. Every teacher you've ever had has been a student, and every student will eventually teach someone else something. That is karma, and that is the spreading of our nature. And for us, we were taught, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. I take refuge in the Buddha of infinite light and life. I am learning this learned behavior. And the reason why this is a zone of latent solutions goes back to this wasan. Persons who enter Amida's directing of virtue to beings and realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood completely abandon their self-powered directing of merit, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. Completely abandon their self-powered directing of merits. This is us abandoning the path of sages. So, humans are not enlightened beings. And for us as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, we understand that we are beings with great burdens. We are beings with greed, anger, and ignorance. We are those who are not inherently going to be enlightened in this lifetime. We are those incapable of the great practice of the Buddha. On our own, that is. So, we are teachers and we are students. And in this case, we are a student of the greatest teacher, someone who is not bound by the zone of latent solutions, but rather is looking to teach us the crosswise leap. The crosswise leap, so we can be great students and then be great teachers, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. So if we put ourselves in the position of a chimpanzee, and we look to the Buddha and we try to imitate these practices, we realize that we are incapable of understanding them and incapable of doing them. We are incapable of the path of sages. And so we are given, through our great and compassionate teacher, a path for ourselves. We cannot imitate this because we do not understand what it is to be a Buddha. We do not understand what it is to be an enlightened being, so thusly we cannot imitate it. Our work through the path of sages, through our self-powered directing of merit, is not going to liberate us from samsara, from the ocean of birth and death. And so as said, in our cultural evolution, in our social evolution, our personal evolution, we have to look to a solution, and we have to enter in Amida's directing of virtue. We have to acknowledge the Namo Amida Butsu in our lives. And we have to be really, really grateful because we have a teacher who's willing to show us and willing to give us a practice we can understand, something we can do and we are capable of, something that is made perfectly for each and every one of us. And that is Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. By taking complete refuge in this vow, we can bathe in the snow monkey onsen of warm water, pure joy, knowing that it is big enough for all beings to come and join us. And so that we are able to show others like ourselves, come in and join us. This onsen snow monkey water is perfect and it is fine. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. And so, as you watch travel shows through this November and December, and if you turn it on and you see a snow monkey, and you see them playing with snowballs and washing off a sweet potato and laying and sitting inside the onsen, think of it this way. That is also us playing with snowballs and washing off sweet potatoes and sitting in a warm bath. And in doing that, in saying Namo Amida Butsu, we are embraced entirely by the vow, and by saying Namo Amida Butsu, we welcome others to be embraced by the vow. Because as we completely abandon our self-powered directing of merit, we will benefit sentient beings boundlessly. By embracing Namo Amida Butsu, we help those around us. By completely and utterly being grateful for the vow, Namo Amida Butsu, we get to sit in the warm monkey onsen of happiness and joy. Please join me in Gassho. Persons who enter Amida's directing of virtue to beings and realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood completely abandon their self-powered directing of merit, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.